Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As you may be aware, we have now approached the new Islamic year 1444 Hijri, and therefore the first Islamic month of the year. As you may also be aware, there is a very important event on this month. This is Ashura, which is on the 10th of Muharram. Many events have happened on this day, both in the era of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and in the era of the prophets before him. For example, Prophet Musa alayhi salam and the believers were saved from Fir'aun on this day. This has been documented in the Quran when it is written in Surah Ashura, ayah 63 to 65. فأوحينا إلى موسى أن اضرب بعصاك البحر فانفلق فكان فرق كالطود العظيم. Then we inspired Moses, strike with your staff the sea, and it parted, and each portion was like a great towering mountain. وأزلفنا ثم الآخرين, and we advanced to the others. وأنجينا موسى ومن معه أجمعين, and we saved Musa and those with him altogether. Similarly, Prophet Nuh alayhi salam was also brought to safety on this day, as it was this day his ark came to rest on Mount Judi. It's on this day that the trumpet will be blown on a year unknown to us. However, one of the most significant events on this day I would like to talk about is the martyr of Imam Hussain. Imam Hussain was one of the cherished grandchildren of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, along with his brother Hassan. Furthermore, the two brothers were born to Ali radiallahu anhu and Fatima radiallahu anha, and were given the title of the leaders of the youth on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Now I would like to move on to the prophecy of the martyr. Hafiz ibn Kathir has written, one day an angel came and sat down by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet said to one of his wives, Salama, we have a guest. Do not let anyone enter as we are having a conversation. In the meantime, Hussain, who at the time was very young, entered the room and, as children do, climbed on the shoulders of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The angel asked, do you love him? The Prophet replied, yes. The angel then said, your followers will one day, at a later time, martyr him. This proves Rasulullah himself knew of the martyr of Hussain. Other narrations also suggest that he mourned and cried over this prophecy and martyrdom. Now I would like to also introduce some of the people involved in the martyrdom of Imam Hussain before I go into depth of the event. The major figure in this incident was Yazid bin Muawiyah, son of a Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and first caliph ruler of the Umayyad Caliphate. He was made ruler and king after his father passed away. However, Yazid indulged himself in many haram actions, such as drinking heavily and possessing many dogs. Some historians actually say he died by being bitten by a dog while playing with it. The first major step in the martyrdom of Imam Hussain occurred. The first major step in the martyrdom of Imam Hussain occurring was Yazid becoming leader of the Muslims. Most swore allegiance to Yazid, except for three Sahabas: Imam Hussain, Abdullah bin Zubayr, and Abdullah bin Umar. May Allah be pleased with all three of them. When Yazid found out, he wrote to the governor of Medina to convince the three to swear allegiance to him. So the governor sent out his men to call Imam Hussain and Abdullah bin Zubayr to go to the house of the governor. Abdullah bin Umar was not dealt with in this time, as the governor felt that he had no desire to fight or to get power. Imam Hussain then went to the governor's house, along with a group of men who waited outside as instructed, unless voices were raised or they were called for. When Hussain was informed about pledging allegiance to Yazid, he felt that it was inappropriate and instead wanted the whole of Medina to come together and talk about the allegiance to Yazid. Furthermore, Hussain also wanted to use this as an opportunity to speak out against Yazid's haram lifestyle and how it is against the Sunnah and the Quran. Upon hearing this, the governor agreed to invite people in the morning. However, another minister, Marwan, who was present, said to the governor, ask him to swear allegiance to Yazid now, otherwise you will not be able to obtain allegiance later until rivers of blood are flowing between you and him. If you do not do this now, I will kill Imam Hussain right now." Then Hussain left and returned home to discuss this with his friend Muhammad bin Hanafi. They discussed where Hussain should go and came to the consensus that he should go to Mecca. Meanwhile, Yazid found out that the governor had not forced Imam Hussain or Abdullah bin Zubayr to accept Yazid as their true ruler. Therefore, he replaced the governor with Umar bin Sa'id. Furthermore, Yazid also had many of the supporters of Hussain and Abdullah bin Zubayr arrested and lashed. These included some of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. While Hussain was on his journey to Mecca from Medina, he met Abdullah bin Abbas and Abdullah bin Umar. Hussain told them he was heading to Kufa after Mecca. However, the two reminded him of the betraying nature of the Kufans. Imam Hussain maintained the importance of separating Muslims from misguided rulers. While reaching Mecca, he also had a similar encounter with Abdullah bin Muti'a. When he discovered Hussain may take a journey to Kufa, he also warned him of the Kufans and told him to stay in Mecca, unless told to leave by the Meccans. Thus he settled in Mecca. However, when the people of Kufa heard of this, they sent Hussain a letter of invitation mentioning the current situation there due to Yazid and how they are willing to pledge allegiance to Hussain if he went to Kufa. This was also supported by signatures of many. Then a letter from Kufa was also sent with even more signatures every 2 days until Imam Hussain wrote a letter to the Kufans that he will send his cousin Muslim bin Aqil to assess the situation before he goes himself. When Muslim bin Aqil reached Kufa, the Shia used to come and visit him. They said they would pledge to support Hussain until his last breath. When the governor of Kufa was informed that the Shia of Kufa were swearing allegiance to Hussain, he gave a speech against him and opposing the government. After some time, Muslim bin Aqil relocated to the house of Hani bin Urwa. Meanwhile, Ubaidullah bin Ziyad, the new governor, sent one of his slaves to find out where Muslim bin Aqil was staying. Soon it was found out that Muslim bin Aqil was staying at Hani's house, and thus Hani was arrested for opposing King Yazid and imprisoned for refusing to hand Muslim bin Aqil to them. When Muslim bin Aqil heard of this news, he gathered 18,000 people who swore allegiance to him and surrounded the governor's house. However, the governor was able to persuade the people to leave and said they would be pardoned if they leave Muslim bin Waqil and go home. This led to the Kufans breaking their promise and betraying Muslim bin Waqil. Then Muslim bin Waqil went and knocked on a door of a house to take refuge in. A woman named Thu'a opened the door and took him in. Her son Bilal was the detective of the governor. Meanwhile, the governor gathered everyone and gave a speech where he mentioned of house searches and rewards for those who helped find Muslim bin Waqil. The next morning, Bilal informed the governor that Muslim bin Waqil was seeking refuge in his house. Then the police went to Bilal's house and eventually found him and fought him. Eventually, Muslim bin Waqil was executed on the roof of Bilal's house. When Imam Hussain received one of Muslim bin Waqil's previous letters of 18,000 people swearing allegiance to him, he decided to leave for Kufa, despite the people's advice to stay in Mecca. During the journey to Kufa with his family, he received news of Muslim bin Aqil's death and details of the occurrence in Kufa. Due to this, he began to reconsider his decision. However, Muslim bin Aqil's son wanted to seek revenge on his father's behalf, so they continued on their journey. During the journey, a lot of people joined Imam Hussain, thinking he would gain full control of Kufa. When Imam Hussain and his people reached Kufa, the governor of Kufa sent a letter to Hur, the leader of the army, to take them to an open place with no water or shelter. Imam Hussain continued with the journey until they reached Karbala. Imam Hussein's hysterical sermon. When Imam Hussain saw that both sides were ready to go to war, he mounted a camel and faced the opposition and made the following speech. O people, do not rush to kill me, as I am the grandson of our Prophet. I have come here of my own accord, but have been called by your people. At this time, there is no man on earth who is a grandson of a Prophet apart from me. Pause to think for a while, who am I? If you want to know about me, go and ask the Prophet's companion who are still alive. Go and ask Jafar bin Abdullah, Abu Sa'id, Suhail bin Sa'd, Zayd bin Arqam, and Anas bin Malik. They will tell you how the Prophet used to love us. Tell me, is it right for you to receive me with an unsheathed sword? Tell me, for what crime do you want to kill me? Have I killed anyone that you want me to be punished for, his or her murder? Or have I taken anyone's property? O people, listen to me. Did you not write letters asking me to come? Once again I say, I have come here because you have invited me to come here. But since I have come here, you do not recognize me, and you do not want to support me. He then finished the sermon and dismounted the camel. On 10th of Muharram, 61 Hijri, the war began, and Umar bin Sa'id got his bows and arrows ready to fire towards Hussain and his people. The rival force also decided to launch all their attacks at once, leading to simultaneous arrows fired at Imam Hussain and his people. Many of his followers and their horses were injured, but the brave soldiers began fighting on foot. Eventually, all of Hussein's family and supporters had all been murdered, leaving him alone. He was then shot in the face by an arrow while trying to get water to drink. Soon, the soldiers had the thought of the back of their mind that he was the grandson of the Prophet, and nobody wanted to be the person cursed till the day of judgment for killing Hussain. However, a man named Shimar shouted to his men, "How cowardly you all are! You cannot even kill an injured person." When Hussain heard this, he said, "The prophecy of the Prophet has come true." The Prophet said, "A white dog will one day be sniffing at the blood of his family." Shimar was referred to this as him having leprosy. They then surrounded Hussain and cut his head off and divided his belongings among themselves. Then 10 horsemen were ordered to ride over Hussein's body so that the flesh would be separated from the bones. During the battle, 88 people had been murdered. I would like to conclude it there. May Allah give us tawfiq to understand. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.